Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Surrey Tennis Talks, part of the Inside Performance series. My name is Lewis Woodham, and with us we have Justin Sherring, who is going to take us through what you can expect from this series in the coming weeks.
Hey, everybody. It's really fun to be part of this new series, and hopefully Lewis and I we're going to be chatting about tennis fairly loosely in the coming months. But nevertheless, we're always going to be covering the core parts of what we do in Surrey, and certainly what I'm involved with is the county training program. So there'll be county training updates on here. There'll be county cup and competition updates if we played any friendly matches. There'll be big shout outs to players that have done really well, and we'll also be looking at, in line with what we've all seen this summer with the Battle of the Brits and the UK Pro Series and the British Tour return to elite competition. We've all got to know these players a little bit, and we're going to be making sure that you keep in touch with how these emerging players that are sort of transitioning from juniors or out of college into the pro games, because we've got to know them. So let's stay in touch with them and find out how they're doing. There'll be other opportunities to big up our coaches as well. If we've got great players, we must have great coaches. We want to make sure that we support and help parents as well. So any questions that any tennis parents have got, about the journey of getting to the Battle of the Brits or getting to the British Tour finals, like some of our players have done, then this is the great place to ask, and we'll chat about these things. So anything about tennis, and particularly Surrey tennis, that's the agenda.
Brilliant. And we'll also be touching on some of the biggest stories from world tennis, the ATP, WTA, Grand Slams. We'll also be touching on those in episodes as well, if there's any big stories or anything like that. So for this first episode, Justin, I think we're going to kick off looking back at British success over the last month or so. So do you want to fire off with perhaps an individual person you want to start off celebrating, or an event perhaps you want to look back to?
Well, the great thing is this is obviously, there'll be a recording going out, but this is nice and live. And Joe Salisbury, very happy to let you know, Joe Salisbury just won his first round match at the US Open.
Brilliant.
Him
Surrey
and
boy.
Partner, Rajiv Ram, Surrey boy, that's it. From an early age, went off to American University, then came back and is now, top 10 in the world, Grand Slam champion. So we keep tabs on these types of players, like Lewis said. But the rest of our emerging talent has done particularly well this summer. From a standing start really, position of zero tennis. The return to tennis was rapid and very, very condensed. We had the British Tour, the return to elite competition. And just to explain a little bit to everybody, I was up at the National Tennis Centre. They took safety incredibly seriously, as you may have seen with the Battle of the Brits. I mean, everybody had their masks on.
Yeah.
And it was done properly. So I thought that we really put tennis in a really good light. And a lot of our Surrey players benefited from both the Battle of the Brits and the British Tour, and a new series of events that occurred at St George's Hill Lawn Tennis Club. So Surrey really have been right at the edge of returning to tennis, with obviously the NTC being in Surrey and St George's Hill Lawn Tennis Club. So first of all, there's been 6 weeks of the British Tour so far, and in week one, a nice roundup for you. Week one, we started with the winner, Surrey's own Arthur Ferry.
Yeah, fantastic form, unbelievable form.
We can then hear his name quite a bit in the next few minutes. And in the runner-up in the girls' event was Jody Burridge.
Yes.
Who you would have seen give Joe Conter a beating at the Battle of the Brits. Poor Johanna, that was her first match back, and Jody really, really went for it. And well done to her. And the final of the winners of the ladies' doubles, women's doubles, was Emily Appleton and Lily Miyazaki. So well done to Lily and Emily for winning that. So the first week, British Tour returns, we had the guys winner, the girls winner, and the ladies' doubles winner. So
Brilliant. So do you think that playing, because obviously a lot of these events were all very close to home for a lot of these players, do you think competing, close to home, do you think that helps? Do you think that helps them, I guess, prepare better and therefore play better? Do you think that plays a big part?
I think it really does, actually. There's something that we talk about with not only Joe at the top end, but I even talk to the juniors about if they go away anywhere, take your own pillow. Take your own pillow. And it's tough to take your duvet and the whole set. But you can certainly take your pillow, because there's nothing like sleeping in your own bed. So it's got to help, And if your mum's a good cook, then it helps with mum's cooking as well. So yeah. I'm very much, not really, hopefully, in the coming months we get into what I believe to be good player development. And I don't believe in players moving away at an early age. I think the longer they can stay at home and have breakfast in their pajamas and have mum's spaghetti bolognese on a Wednesday night and sleep in their own bed, the more the person's happier, the more the player will be happier. So in answer to your question, I think it does help. Yeah. I think it might have been different if we'd have been up in Glasgow or up in Sheffield. It might have been different.
Slightly different climate.
Yeah, oh, definitely. So week 2 of the British Tour return saw Alistair Gray team up with ATP Top 100 player Cameron Norrie, and they won the doubles, which was no mean feat, because they beat Joe Salisbury and Dom Inglot in the final.
Not bad at all.
That's got to be good, isn't it? I don't think Joe lost too much sleep about it, but I think for someone like Alistair, when he heads back to TCU, because he's over in America at university, I think the boys, when they welcome him back, they're going to say, wow, you just took out a top 10 player and a Davis Cup champion in Tom Inglot. So
amazing.
Week 3, Arthur Ferry on fire, took the singles title home again. Just incredible.
I should also say, just to interject, Justin, you of course interviewed Arthur in a one-off Inside Performance episode where we got some really good insight, which you can see on our YouTube channel or on our website. And I think we got some really good insight, didn't we, into Arthur's preparation and how he sort of approaches his tennis.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really calm guy, and I think it just shows that no sooner was he telling us about his meditation techniques or his commitment to meditation and his calmness and his emotional control, and then he wins so many tournaments over the summer. He's a very, very good match player. It means he can move on very quickly. Tennis is just pogo stick. You're up and down, up and down, up and down. You're all over the place. But if you can make sure that you're always calm and ready to deliver at the next moment, and I think Arthur proved that. And I love the fact that he's doing that. His mental strength is massive. His mental strength could be described as 6'4", but his physical stature is 5'8". And again, in a game full of giants, it's nice that we can start to recognize him, and start to put a finger on why he's so good. And I think his game's very good. He's a very skillful player, but mentally, the ability to move on and stay calm and deliver each time is great. And it was nice listening to him say he used to have problems with that. He used to have issues with it.
Yeah.
Used to get stressed. So, so he was the winner of week 3 at the British Tour when it returned at the NTC. Week 5, Lily Miyazaki, she picked up the women's title there. And she also picked up the ladies' doubles title as well with Emily Appleton.
Phenomenal.
Surrey are really peppering this return to elite competition. Week 5, Craig Veal is going to be a very proud coach, because his duo again, Arthur Ferry and Lily Miyazaki, did the double at NTC. So just tremendous.
Absolutely, amazing.
And Lily then backed up. She did the treble because she won week 6 as well. And she took out the firecracker. Emily Appleton was the runner-up. So an all-Surrey women's final. And week 7 of the British Tour, just to put it in perspective, and starts later on this week. So that has been the British Tour aspect of the return to elite competition at the NTC.
Incredible. And a lot of those players you mentioned have all, and still do, represent Surrey in County Cup. So Arthur's represented at junior age groups. Lily Miyazaki, when she can, represents the women. And Emily Appleton is a real regular in the women's team as well, even at her age. So I think she's just turned 21. So still lots of tennis still to come from them from a county perspective, which is nice.
I think it was it Emily's birthday yesterday?
I think, yeah, in and around.
Last couple of days. So happy 21st if you're watching, Emily.
Happy birthday. So Justin, for those people who perhaps don't know the structure of British competition, so try and explain what the British Tour is, I suppose what it always has been and what sort of purpose it's serving now, and where it fits in the scale of sort of your Novak Djokovic ATP or your beginner kid events. Where does it sort of sit in that ladder?
It's a only British-based event. Typically, a lot of your top older juniors, 17, 18-year-old juniors in their last year would be playing it. But if you go back to the qualifying draws, which we haven't seen this time around because it has just been the elite level, you have pre-qualifying, you have qualifying that starts earlier on in the week, and the main draw tends to start on a Thursday. So if you're in a full-time program and you're 14 or 15, I think 15 might be the cutoff, but you can enter pre-qualifying. If you're looking to get a taste of the action at the higher end of British tennis, then the British Tour is a good place to start. Particularly if you've sort of either had enough of junior tennis or outgrown junior tennis, it's a great place to go if you don't have the massive budgets and you can't travel the world and play the ITF Junior Tour, or you're not quite at the level yet to play at the Futures, which do attract to more of an international crowd. Yeah. So, a lot of the university players that stay in this country often play the British Tour. So that's where it sits. The purpose it served this summer is that it has actually seen a lot of the elite players playing in the event. And the draws have been very, very competitive and very, very high. No qualification, no pre-qualies. It's straight in top 16 guys and girls, which is why it's amazing that Lily and Arthur have dominated in such a fashion because competition's been tough. And I suppose in a world recently where nobody's had fantastic access to training, we see who's come out of it the best and who's got the will to win, perhaps a bit more than just had great access to hitting balls. But that's where it sits, and long may it last. And I'm really glad that it's been able to be watched by so many people on YouTube. The LTA did a good job of advertising it, promoting it. So we get to see these younger players, which we normally see them at Wimbledon go out first round and don't think they're very good players. So it's nice seeing them play at their own level. Yeah. Without the panic and the rabbit in the headlights of, Wimbledon, thousands of people around a tight court.
And I think you're right because, your general tennis fans would never really have the opportunity to watch these sort of players. Like you said, apart from first round at Wimbledon, where that's never really a true reflection. Some players can progress through the rounds, your Marcus Willis, players like that. But generally, it's quite a daunting experience especially for a young player. So it's nice to see them, as you said, in their own environment, relaxed, and you can see how good they are.
You really realise how good they are and how they all just need time to develop and progress and get stronger. Yeah. A lot of them get stronger. They're still kids, really, physically. And then we had, at the same time, a brand new tournament called the UK Pro Series. Run out of St George's Hill, up on the estate. A very prestigious club, opened its doors and got in a great group of players. No spectators again, obviously, but live streamed and watched by a lot of people. So if I just run through there, because again, Surrey had a really good few weeks there. So week one, in between winning the British Tour and coming back for week 3, it was Arthur Ferry managed to get the win again. And on the ladies' side, Jody Burridge. So week 1 British Tour, Arthur and Jody, and week 1 UK Pro Series, Arthur and Jody.
Incredible.
who knows, one day when they're winning Wimbledon titles, or at least playing mixed doubles together at Wimbledon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
be nice to hear those names said again. Week 2, Alistair Gray, mentioned him already, as playing doubles with Cam at the British Tour. This time, singles player, very good singles play, plays in the American University system, grew up in Surrey boy, and just a very nice young player, but developed into a big monster, 6'4", big serve.
Yeah, big serving. Yeah.
And the runner-up that week, Emily Appleton at the UK Pro Series.
Familiar names reappearing.
They're all doing incredibly well now. I think week 3 at the UK Pro Series, we had a little bit of a rest period. We gave everyone else a chance to catch up and do well. so we move swiftly to week 4, where no winners, but the opportunity to mention a new name to us in Mark Whitehouse.
Yeah.
Ranked around the sort of 500 mark in the ATP at the time of lockdown. He's our men's county cup captain, out there flying the flag and showing us all how it's done. He made the semi-finals at the UK Pro Series.
Brilliant.
Played very well. And Emily Appleton again made the semis as well. So she's obviously on good form this summer, and such good form that when we come to week 5, she ends up winning it. So well done.
Brilliant.
Well done. It's a lot of matches for these players.
Yeah.
An awful lot of matches, but that's what they wanted, and hopefully they haven't had any serious injuries. And then what happened in the UK Pro Series was you gathered points, a bit like you do to get to the ATP Tour Finals. It's how well you do in those certain events, and that they called that the Classic. So in the Classic, Jody Burridge was the runner-up, and she only lost to Emma Raducanu, who I think we've also
another very informed player,
seen at the Battle of the Brits. So well done to Kent's Emma Raducanu. Well done, and well done to Jody for being runner-up in that event. So that's what it's been for those players. Incredibly busy, and they've been able to do what they love to do, which is get on a tennis court and play loads of matches. So well done to British tennis for getting all that going, and let's hope that it carries on. Yeah,
no, 100%. I think, as you said, it's a lot of tennis, these guys and girls have been playing, and hopefully it will propel them onto, a successful rest of the season. I mean, we look at Cam Norrie, who played a lot of British tennis over the last month or so, and he's gone and beaten Diego Schwartzman first round of the US. So hopefully it sort of gets them in good form. But throwing it back right to the beginning of the return to tennis, we had the very first Battle of the Brits, where we obviously had Joe Salisbury competing, but we almost saw another Surrey superstar, Jack Draper, who nearly got on court to show everyone his skills, but unfortunately had to pull out, didn't he? Was it back injury?
It was actually the other side of his body was an abdominal injury.
Abdominal, yeah.
Unfortunately, in his last practice session before facing off and trying to live up to the hype that Andy Murray was putting him under as one of the favourites. He came round to my house a few weeks later, in fact, and played a game of snooker. So we were having a chat about that. So I think it was good enough to play snooker, but not quite good enough to stretch up and bang down 130-mile-an-hour serves at that level. But he'll have his time, and he'll be ready. The thing with stomach injuries is you've got to be incredibly careful, because it's very delicate.
And he's still so young, in terms of his career. So how well, had he played, how do you think it would have gone on with his game style? Do you think it would have matched up well against, Evans and Norrie and Murray?
I think he would have made quite a few of those players frightened, because he's got weapons. He can hurt you. He can hurt you everywhere. He really can. He's got a massive forehand. I mean, his backhand's, being sort of an originally right-handed player, he's quite ambidextrous. So the backhand's always a weapon, especially up the line. And he's got a massive serve. He's a big boy now. So, I mean, not that they haven't all got big serves, but he's got a particularly big serve. It's a real weapon. and I don't think Sir Andy Murray would have enjoyed playing him. So I'm wondering if that last practice session was Andy just stretching him out a little bit
Yeah,
wider.
I think you might be right. So Jack's obviously had a quite rapid rise, I would say. Perhaps in the last year, he's put together some really good results. He's bagged a few titles as well. So what do you think his rest of his year, perhaps next year, might look like? Obviously, he's a great servant of Surrey. He's represented us many times. But how do you think his tennis career is going to look like in the next year or so?
Yeah, it's about keeping up with the progress that he's made since he left the juniors. I mean, obviously, growing is really helpful when you can see when you start to see the service box rather than looking through the net. It does help.
Yeah.
And then your levers get a little bit longer and you can generate a bit easier power. But it's also the mindset, making sure that you stay aggressive. And as soon as you hit the tour, it's tough to really go out there and expect guys to give you matches. You need to go and win them. So if you're not prepared to win matches, then you're probably not going to win them. But if you are prepared to win them, then you're probably going to lose quite a few matches. So it's having that long-term vision of. And it's quite tough because you want it now. When you've had a lot of success as a junior, you're not used to being patient. You're not used to losing matches, but you just got to make sure that you realize that you're now at the beginning of a new mountain, the whole new mountain. So you may, walk a few steps and slip down a mountain, but as long as you get up and you keep pulling yourself up and you realize it's a new mountain, don't expect it to be an extension of the last mountain.
Yeah.
Junior tennis is very different. We learn all our lessons there, but then you've got to be strong and you've got to be patient and tough it out. But in talking to him, he sounds very level-headed and he sounds like he knows what he wants, and just take the rest of the year for what he can. If he can get into any events, it's quite tough to get into events. Not many events on, and the cut-off for even challenger events are very high. You've got a lot of players not wanting to travel too far, and they're all playing more local, smaller events. So it's tough to get into. Just be patient, see how this pandemic plays out, and he's still a puppy, he's still 18 years old. So,
like you said, and that transition from junior to senior tour can be one that a lot of players don't do that well. You looks of, I'm trying to think, Donald Young, who was obviously a really top junior and didn't quite reach the height. So as you said, it's something you've got to just approach differently. I guess it's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, it's it's almost like a new sport.
Yeah.
See it as a new beginning, and then you don't expect too much of yourself, but you've still got to have a burning ambition inside.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
That's what the seniors have been up to.
Yeah,
and the LTA, I think, did a really good job in getting our juniors back out to competing again by setting up the LTA box leagues.
Yeah.
Which
definitely
was, just a great idea. And then in Surrey, what we did was for our top under 10 players, we set up our own box leagues in Surrey, and several hundred matches have been played just with the under 10s. Several thousand matches have been played across the southeast, and
as always in Surrey, we don't tend to do things by halves. I think when we put something on, we do get flooded a little bit, which is obviously fantastic.
So that's been tremendous. And there's also been more recently the UK the National Youth Series, which is a little bit like your nationals, set up at different venues around the country the past few weeks, and we've had over 50 players from Surrey entered into across all the age groups, and those finals take place at the end of September up in Nottingham. So if you like, you had all the qualifying events, and it was done very nicely. All the players were in round robin boxes, so they got to play a lot of matches, and then at the end there was a standing, final standings, and the top two players have gone through to the national final. So I will be looking forward to mentioning a few names, giving a few shout outs to players that do particularly well in the national finals. But it's been done very well. So the LTA have done a very, very good job.
I think to echo what you're saying there, I think to get that many players competing so quickly, I think in what is essentially a brand new event, a brand new product, I think it's been brilliant, and it shows what appetite there was for tennis. We're one of the last sports to go post-lockdown and pre-lockdown rather, and one of the first ones back. And the amount of fixtures is just incredible. The amount of matches were played in Surrey. Shout out to Tim Pearce, who's a Surrey referee who had a big hand in that, and he certainly had his hands full. So what do you think, Justin, is the importance of, because there was a lot of players there who wouldn't have competed for a while. They might get turned off from tennis. Maybe they start picking up other sports. So how important do you think is the actual competing side of it, getting that going again to keeping them interested?
It really, I mean, it's vital. I mean, but more so at this moment, it was about socializing again. Getting a parent in the car with their kid is almost it's a habit for most families who are involved in tennis. They've missed getting in the car, the buzz of getting ready for the matches today and getting in the car. And although all those journeys don't always work out well, especially if you're on your way back and you haven't done too well, but it's a way of life for these tennis families, and they've got their own project that they're trying to run. And, without competition, it kind of stops you thinking about getting better and, what you need to improve on. The idea of the matches is at junior tennis is to find out where you are.
Yeah.
Every week or every other week, you're getting an opportunity to see what needs work. It's not the winning and the losing, like we've said, but I think a lot I've noticed in the feedback I've had from the under 10 box leagues is that just how much people have enjoyed it. I've not had a complaint, and I've had hundreds of results have come in, and players have got together and they've really enjoyed the socializing, because we didn't know how long we were going to be locked in for, did we really?
No.
And just, it's been a nice chance to sort of reset and say, do you know what? We really missed it. So that must mean we love it. We must love this sport. So let's make sure we all carry that on and play for the right reasons. And as far as being a coach is concerned, make sure we play for the right reasons and learn. The nice thing about the box leagues is that there's another match.
Yeah.
So you're not knocked out, oh dear, and then everyone hits the panic buttons. We know there's there's more matches, so you can just relax, enjoy, and learn.
Yeah. No, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think another aspect I found quite interesting was speaking to some parents and players about why the juniors were so keen and so excited to be back, not only because they missed tennis, but actually because of the tennis on TV, the Battle of the Brits, what was available to watch, it sort of reignited their love for it and really what they want to strive to be. And I think that's what the LTA did really, really well, was it sort of whetted the appetite of players of all standards and all ages. I think, there's a lot of players, your Emma Raducanu's, your Ryan Penistons, that people may perhaps not have known, but a lot of these juniors are now aspiring to be like those guys who are mixing it with, Sir Andy Murray and Joe Salisbury. And, it's incredible. No,
it's tough. It's tough really, because there's a big gap, isn't there, between, 14-year-old player in Surrey and Novak Djokovic.
Yeah.
That you think, oh my gosh, they're just on another stratosphere. But when you see Anton Matusevic, the Aidan McHugh, and you go, well, hang about, if I scroll down the same list as Novak and Roger and Rafa, scroll down, you haven't got to go to a different site, scroll down and you'll see Anton. Wow, you see Aidan. They're a lot further down the list, but you see they're in the same list.
Yeah.
And so it's much easier. And then you think, well, they're sort of 17, 18 years old. Well, that's only 4 or 5 years away from me. That I can see the work that needs to be done. Or, as you say, you can get a more realistic level of inspiration, because it's 4 years away, as opposed to, Novak, into his 30s. You're thinking, goodness me, am I ever going to get to that level?
Do you think that bridge? Do you think that bridge wasn't really there, over the past 5-10 years? Do you think all people had to base themselves against is basically what they saw on TV, which is generally Grand Slams, and there was no, I think as a normal player, how on earth, as you said, how on earth are they going to reach the Novak Djokovic heights? Yeah. And there's no bridge.
Exactly. So Alistair Gray goes back to his university in America, and he's, Joe won't like me saying this, but he's taken out Joe Salisbury and Dominic Ingler. I mean, that sort of thing makes even those guys on that team think, wow, well, if you can do it, because I took a set off you last week, or I beat you last week, Alistair. It's about bringing things to life and making them seem possible.
Mm.
And the more we can do that, it's been great. I mean, it's not realistic to have the Battle of the Brits every year, or this level of tournaments on home soil all the time. But I hope that we have it more often. I really do.
Well, that was going to be a question I was going to ask you. So hopefully our viewers would have seen you on Amazon Prime. You were obviously there with Joe, so you would have seen these events sort of really firsthand. And you think it's not realistic every year to host with such big names?
Well, I think once if the tour calendar goes back to its full schedule again, it's tricky, and you've got players choosing to, collect ATP points, WTA points, prize money. I think it's tough to go up against that. So the timing was perfect, and I've got to say, big shout out to Jamie Murray for organising Battle of the Brits.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
All the social media comments, I mean, just not one negative comment. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And if you compare that with same said players seen at Wimbledon first round, I go back to that, and everybody thinks British tennis is dire.
Yeah.
And now out of the Brits, everybody thinks it's fantastic. So you have to put it in perspective, and you've got to frame it correctly. You've got to frame Jody Burridge and Emma Raducanu, frame them correctly.
Yeah.
And otherwise you can't put them up against Petra, Kvitova first round Wimbledon and go, oh, well, Raducanu's no good.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. She's awesome. So you can't be any good for these players either to also hear the British public talking about them negatively. And subsequently, we've got the British public talking about them very positively and can't wait to see them again. I mean, if it was a professional British tour, I think it would do really, really well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I completely agree. And I think, especially when it comes to players like that were competing so much in the Battle of the Brits, your Jody Burridges, I think they became sort of household names. And I think people are really egging them on to succeed, which I think is so great for these young players to feel like, the nation's behind them. And I think you're right. That hasn't always been there, I don't think. I think similar to the England national team in football, there's a lot of pressure, and I don't think it helps performance. And I think perhaps in British tennis, there wasn't enough, really shouting out, supporting our players, which seems to have happened.
No, I definitely agree. And, bringing things back a little bit more to the sort of junior end, I'd like to just give everyone an update about what's happening with county training.
Please do, yeah.
A lot of these players that have played, playing at the tournaments that we've been mentioning, all started with county training. And the good news is that we will have a program of county training starting in October, late September, early October, that will run all the way through this term. We've secured a couple of really good indoor venues. We just have to be sensible, as everybody else does, about taking, a great big horde of juniors and their parents into indoor centres, into indoor venues where members are, and they're quite particular. For a long time, visitors weren't allowed, were they? And guests weren't allowed into clubs, and particularly indoors. So we just have to be sensible. But I think we have been smart. We've got a couple of really great venues, and I will be able to announce something in the next couple of weeks about exactly when county training will start. But no one needs to worry. It will kick off again, and we will have something for everybody who's at that level. So that's really great. We've got a fantastic team of coaches, and just lovely seeing 12 to 16 players, Surrey players, just going toe to toe at training and just letting them batter each other better, because that's what they do.
Yeah.
They fight, that they're all so competitive that they just make each other better. And we've had a few friendly matches with our friends over at Middlesex. They've been great.
Yeah.
Great match against Hertfordshire as well, with our under 12 girls. All friendly matches, just to bit by bit get our top sort of county cup players out, competing again. So one way or another, I think we've had the vast majority of junior competitive players. There's been something for everybody. If it LTA box leagues, under 10 Surrey box leagues, friendly county matches, we've had something going on. So as soon as we got the all clear and the green light, we got organised pretty quickly. So I do hope that players have enjoyed those experiences, but can hope so.
Brilliant. Just cut out a little bit at the end there, but yeah, I totally agree that the Fat County training is back now is a big relief. I think a lot of parents are going to be excited, kids are going to be excited, and just to mention also that the Surrey National League Junior Team Trophy, which is our winter event for all club level players. So even if you're a real beginner and your club's entered teams, you can compete. So whether it's on the county training side or the club tennis side, there's plenty of opportunities. So if anyone out there perhaps doesn't know where to go or they don't know how to compete, you can obviously always contact myself, Justin, anyone at the office, and we'll be able to point you in the right direction. But I think we want to hammer home that there's a lot of opportunities to compete for players of all levels, which is, so fantastic to have now after a pretty crazy year. Yeah, very exciting times ahead, I think.
That's it. So I just want to say, thanks to all the coaches around Surrey that have hung in there. Thanks to all the parents who, picked up their, car keys and got their kids hustled into the car to play all their box leagues and then drive them around, parts of the southeast for the National Youth Series matches.
Yeah.
And thanks for the whole sort of tennis community that we really feel closer to now at the LTA for returning us to competition and for giving us such a great summer of watching tennis on telly again.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. So that's really it from me, Lewis. So I look forward to seeing you again next time.
Yeah. Well, I think we could
seeing everybody else.
Definitely. Yeah. We could chat for hours, I think, on all things US Open, juniors. So we'll call it a day for now. I think hopefully everyone's enjoyed episode 1. As Justin said at the beginning, we've got many, many episodes to come. So stay tuned on our website. Stay tuned on our social media. There'll always be links to it. We've got many, many topics, exciting topics to come. We're also going to feature questions from you guys, from our players, our parents. We're going to have guests, as Justin mentioned at the beginning. So lots of exciting stuff to come. So first of all, finally, it's a thank you from me and thank you from Justin. And we will see you all very soon. Cheers, guys.